Good morning. What a privilege it is this morning to share God's word. I awoke very, very early today. Had been a little blank this week and not sure if I would do a video this week. And then I woke early this morning, began studying in First John about the love of God, and God began stirring my heart. And as I read those passages, I felt God had something this morning, and it's important to me that I have something inspired. And I would encourage you to go back and watch past videos. The last two have been entitled Anxious to Forgive and Beautiful Heart. And Beautiful Heart's a little bit long, maybe a little longer than it should be on YouTube, but I felt like I had to tell the background of Joseph in order to really tell the story of how he forgave his brothers. And what a beautiful heart. I'm in pursuit of a beautiful heart in my older years. I am in pursuit of a beautiful heart. Anxious to forgive. Anxious to forgive. It says in 1 John that if we don't love and truly love others, which of course includes the anxious to forgive and keeping no record of wrongs and letting it go, that if we're not willing to do that, the love of God cannot be fully developed within us. What a shame it is to move along in life and having attended church maybe for all our life, or been around Christian influence all of our life, and had a Bible there beside our bed all of our life, but we never mature into the love of God and understanding His marvelous love for us. And Paul the Apostle said, I want to know the width and the depth and the height of the love of God. So I'm in pursuit of a beautiful heart. And I believe that God is calling out a remnant. I believe we live in the last days. I believe we're on the eve of the return of Jesus Christ. And I believe that God is calling out a remnant, and He wants to purify us. He wants to give us clarity. The Laodicean church, it speaks of, and I believe that to be the last church age. There in Revelation, and it talks about the blindness that will exist. And we see that around us. And as our country has a meltdown, and as we see things happening that are deeply troubling, I never thought I would have to do news every other night. It's too depressing to do it every night. It's too upsetting. And wow, what we're seeing around us show the signs of His return. And I believe He's calling out a remnant, and He wants to purify their heart. There to the Laodicean church in Revelation, early chapters of Revelation, He says that I counsel you to buy gold tried in the fire. So these aren't easy times for Christians. Don't be too hard on yourself. These are not easy times. Keep going back to the Lord and renewing. That's so very, very important. So I want to tie on to the anxious to forgive and beautiful heart. How does that come about? How does that come about? I feel like there's probably many people that watch those videos or have heard these thoughts, whether it's through me or someone else, as God stirs other ministers to share similar things, and that's happening all around us. And we're grateful for that. But as God calls us, how does this beautiful heart, boy, that appeals to me. That appeals to me, you might say. I do want to be that way. And I don't want to have bitterness and revenge and rage inside with all that's going on. I want to somehow find joy. I want to have beauty within. So how do we gain that? And I believe it's found in a story that begins in Exodus, at least what I'm going to use this morning. It begins in Exodus chapter 3. And I believe the key to the beautiful heart, the key to coming to the place where you really know the Lord, and then He is reflected in you, and people see Him in you. I believe God's love is perfected, but it's rooted in something. And I believe we find it here in Exodus. And so in the next few minutes, going to try to make this a little more brief today. But as we look in Exodus, I want to somehow, with God's enabling, stir within you a hunger. A hunger. That's the key. I'm looking for people with a hunger. I'm often asked, Pastor, why do you mentor certain people? I've noticed that you'll just kind of pick somebody out and you mentor them. And I thought maybe you would mentor me. And I don't mean that to be offensive in any way. And I look for a hunger and a willingness then to obey. A hunger and a willingness to obey. I've had people that, they have a curiosity. They kind of like you maybe, and they look up to their church leaders and their pastor or the Christians in the community, and they think, boy, they're nice people. I'd like to be like that. But what does your heart of hearts want? There needs to be a hunger. But that hunger, I believe, is what God is looking for. He's seeking for people. He said to the woman at the well, true worshipers worship the Father in spirit and truth. The Father seeketh such to worship him. He's looking for that. He's looking for that hunger. And we see this in this story. And I want to read to you from my NLT. One day Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law Jethro. Now, we're not going to give a bunch of background like we did on Joseph, but Moses was born to be a leader and had some miraculous things happen early on. And he was raised in the house of Pharaoh because his mother had put him in a basket to hide him, to save his life. And Pharaoh's daughter was down taking a bath at the river and heard a baby crying. And it's an awesome story. And he grew up understanding that he was to be a leader, but he had a lot of pride. He had a lot going on that was hindering him. And through circumstances and him killing someone, he ran and hid and went to the backside of the mountain. And he was there for years and years and years, being a shepherd, which he had been taught in the house of Pharaoh growing up there, that a shepherd, that kind of work would be abominable. You didn't even sit and eat with shepherds. Isn't it interesting that the man who knew he was to be a leader and God had chosen, the man who had grown up knowing God was going to use him, had to be whittled down in order to be used? Do you know that has to happen? I thought I should go in the ministry in my early 20s and was leading Bible studies and getting lots of compliments, but I wasn't near ready. The 17 years at Kroger's waiting on the public and becoming a supervisor and dealing with issues all the time and my patience being tried and being stretched. I needed badly to whittle me down to size, and God does that. And we see Moses here now at the backside of the mountain. He's been there for years and years and years, and he's probably feeling pretty small and alone. But I want you to notice how God comes through when we're ready. Got to be patient during that time when he's preparing us. Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock far into the wilderness and came to Mount Sinai. And there the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire from the middle of the bush, the burning bush. An angel of the Lord, it says, appeared to him in a blazing fire from the middle of the bush, and Moses stared in amazement. Though the bush was engulfed in flames, it didn't burn up. This is amazing, Moses said to himself. Why isn't the bush burning up? I must go see it. Now, here again, like usual, I got to control my ADD because there's lots of messages in this. I believe everybody has a burning bush experience. I believe that these stories are in the Bible for a reason. You can say, well, I'll never be anything like Moses. Well, I believe you will have an experience in your life where God shows up in some way. It can be a trip to the funeral home. It can be an ICU with COVID. It can be a million things, but God shows up in something that you need to see. And I often say to people who are suffering, don't miss the message. Don't miss the message in it. And I believe that every person has a time or times in their life where there's burning bush experience. Now, it's interesting that it said the angel of the Lord rather here, appeared to him in the bush. All he saw was a bush burning. Okay? Now, when the Lord spoke to him in a minute, we'll be reading this, he recognized it to be the Lord. This is the Lord. But all he saw first was a bush. You know, be watching for the bush. It was the Lord. All he saw is a bush that was on fire. I don't want to miss the burning bush. All right. Why is the bush burning up? I must go see it. When the Lord saw Moses coming to take a closer look, I'm reading from the NLT, and this is a very accurate translation from the Hebrew. When the Lord saw Moses coming to take a closer look, God called out to him in the middle of the bush, Moses, Moses. Oh my. When did just the sight of a burning bush, which looked kind of unusual, become the voice of God? When did it become that? When God saw that he went to the bush. Oh, I got to be here. I got to be there. I've got a busy schedule. Yeah, that's interesting, but I don't know what that's about. Who knows what that's about? Wait a minute. I got to go see what this is. And when God saw that hunger, are you listening? That's the key to the remnant. It isn't about if you're perfect. It isn't about your family name. It isn't about your Christian background. God is looking for people with a hunger. I said a few minutes ago that often people are troubled by, who gets mentored and who. I'm looking for a hunger. When God shows me somebody has a hunger, I don't care if they go to my church or not. I know that hunger is what God is looking for, and I want to be in tune with that. When he saw that he came to the bush, it is then that he cried, Moses, Moses. Remember when Jesus had the Father say, this is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. It said the crowd thought it thundered. Isn't it interesting that when the crowd, the masses just think it's kind of different. It's thundering, I guess. Is that thunder? Jesus was hearing his Father say, this is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. Are you hearing? Are you hearing the voice from the bush? Are you hungry? I can't go with you today. I got to go see what this is. Yeah, it's fun to go to the flea market, but I'm not, and there's a time for recreation, don't misunderstand, but I'm trying to get across to you that our lives are cluttered. I've been hammering that verse in Isaiah. In returning and rest you will be saved. In quietness and confidence will be your strength. Oh, I believe on the backside of that mountain as Moses was being trimmed down to size and being humbled, I believe on the backside of that mountain, God was dealing with him. And within him, he found, after he worked through his pride, that there was a hunger. I got to go see what this is. And when God saw that Moses came closer for a closer look, I always say Mary came early and stayed late. If you read the resurrection story, and I've used that on Easter Sunday, it's a powerful thought. Mary was there before anyone else, and then she stayed around after everybody ran off to tell the news. Oh, I got to go tell CNN and Fox News and got to get this on the TV. This is awesome. We got to get this reported. We got to get the word out. Run, get the video camera, because we got to put this on tape. They were all off to doing whatever they were doing, but she came early and stayed late. And in her staying late, Jesus revealed himself. And it's interesting, the same thing happened with her. She thought it was the gardener. And she said, do you know where they've put my Lord? And he said, Mary. Isn't it interesting that she stayed late? The hunger. Oh, I love the Lord. And yeah, you can go report it all and tell the excitement and tell the unusual circumstances and try to prove to the Jews that he's evidently rose from the dead and we won this argument. And you can go on all you want. I want to stay here. And she heard Mary. Isn't that interesting? Old and New Testament, this same God who looks for a hunger and tells the woman at the well, the Father seeketh such to worship him. And Moses said, here am I. Do not come any closer, the Lord warned. Take off your sandals, for you are standing on holy ground. My, boy, we've gone from an unusual sight to something awesome. His name was called. He was told it's holy ground. Take off your shoes. Wow. I want to go early and stay late. I want a beautiful heart. I want transformation. I want the new creation in Christ. Old things pass away, all things become new. I want to be formed into his likeness, and I know that'll be some trying in the fire. But it starts with a hunger. Who's in the remnant, Pastor? Who is that? You keep saying God's calling out a remnant. It's the person with the hunger. It doesn't matter age, color. It doesn't matter education. It doesn't matter family name. He's looking for somebody with a hunger. He says, take off your shoes. I'm the God of your father, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And when Moses heard this, he covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. All right, let's take a minute and let's look where this hunger took him. Boy, this is an awesome story, and of course, I'd encourage you to read it, beginning there in Exodus 3 that I'm reading today, and continue through as he fusses with God. It says he protested because he couldn't do this. He needed some help, and God, in his gracious mercy, heard his human frailty and gave him Aaron to help him, his brother, and that's an awesome thing. And I wrote in my Bible when it says that he protested with God about doing this, I said, are you protesting or cooperating with God's assignment? And there's all kind of things can be said, but we go through, he approaches Pharaoh. They have the plagues, my, oh my, oh my. And then they finally, after the death angel comes, they leave and take the children of Israel out of Egypt toward the promised land. Now, we can get sidetracked with all that. We're not going to, even though it's powerful stuff. But today I want to stay with the thought. We're talking about a hunger. Where does this hunger take you? Where does this hunger take you? And I love Exodus 33. Exodus 33, they've come into the wilderness. It's time for the second giving of the Ten Commandments. It's just, he's come a long ways in his growth. And I want to tell you that the journey's exciting. The journey's exciting. Oh, we've had some hardships. Pam and I have been through some difficulties, some trying in the fires, family issues and church issues and all kinds of things. And we've been through a lot in our life, but oh, the journey with the Lord has been wonderful. The journey with the Lord has been wonderful. Look where this hunger takes you. Here we find Moses. Now, Moses says, if you don't go with us, don't make us leave this place. And I'm kind of picking up in the middle of a conversation. God had just said, I'll go with you, Moses. I'll give you rest, and everything will be fine with you. Moses said, if you don't go with us, and we're reading from Exodus 33, actually right now I'm at verse 15. If you don't personally go with us, don't make us leave this place. How will anyone know that you look favorably on me and on your people if you don't go with us? For your presence among us sets your people and me apart and from all other people on the earth. And the Lord replied to Moses, I will indeed do what you have asked, for I look favorably on you and I know you by name. That started at the bush. That started at the bush. I know you by name. Started then with a hunger. I will go and see what this is. All right. Moses responded, show me your glory. And that comes from the King James. The King James says glory. In the NLT, it says your glorious presence. Show me your glory. The Lord said, now we're talking about, where does this hunger take you? And the Lord replied, I will make my glory pass before you, and I will call out my name, Yahweh, before you. For I will show mercy to anyone I choose, and I will show compassion to anyone I choose, but you may not look directly at my face. Moses says, look where this hunger has taken him. When he was at the bush, if you remember, I'll turn back to it real quick. It says, when God said, take off your shoes, this is holy ground, I'm the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it says that Moses, when he heard this, covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. Now, I got to emphasize that. He covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. Now, here we are in Exodus 33, and he's saying, show me your glory. Look where this hunger takes you. Look where this hunger takes you. The man who covered his face and said, oh, I can't do this. No. I can't even, I got to have my face covered in your presence. Show me your glory. And God said, I will make my goodness pass before you. You cannot look directly at my face, for no one can see me and live. Look, this is awesome. This is awesome. Stand near me on this rock, and as my glory passes by, I'll hide you in the crevice of the rock and cover you with my hand until I've passed by. Then I will remove my hand and let you see me from behind, but my face cannot be seen. This is awesome. Can you see it? The hunger that led him on this powerful journey. And he hid his face before. Now he's saying, come on. We're friends. Show me your glory. I want to see you. And God said, you can't look at me. Look at the awe here, the awe and wonder of this. You can't look at me and live. You can't look at me and live. So, all right. All right. I think of me with my grandkids. All right. It says, as a father pitieth his children, so God is with us. He's tender to us, Psalms 103. Go stand over there. I'm going to walk by you, and I'm going to cover you because you can't look at me. After I get by, I'll take my hand off, and you can see me from behind. Isn't that incredible? That's so stirring to my heart. So stirring to my heart. And we find that Moses just grows and grows and grows in relationship. Got to close. We end up at the end of his life reading, and that's a powerful, powerful passage, and you'll find it in Deuteronomy 34 before he hands off to Joshua. In Deuteronomy 34, we find that Moses is taken to the mountain before he dies, and God shows him the promised land that he's going to give to the children of Israel. And then it says that Moses died and God buried him, and no one knows where he's buried to this day. My, oh my, the hunger and where it takes you. The hunger and where it takes you. He begins on the backside of the mountain, humbled and humiliated, but he has that hunger and he goes to the bush, and when God saw that, oh, that began the wonderful journey that resulted in God's own hands who formed Adam and Eve. Can you see him making a hole in the side of the mountain or in the ground or wherever it is and burying Moses? What an awesome, awesome journey. Got to close, but what an awesome journey. Pursue him. He's looking for people with a hunger for God. Pursue him with all your might. You'll seek me and find me when you search for me with your whole heart.